So, picture this. January 1879. A massive, state-of-the-art British army marches into the kingdom of Zululand, absolutely certain they're in for a quick, easy victory. But this story, well, it isn't really about an invasion. It's about how arrogance, bitter infighting, and a complete failure to respect an opponent can sow the seeds of an absolute catastrophe. And when I say massive, I mean it. The main column alone had 4,700 troops. We're talking hundreds of wagons, thousands of oxen, a logistical beast so huge it took over an hour just to pass by a single spot. On paper, it looked unstoppable, right? A modern war machine ready to crush anything in its path. But the machine's biggest weakness wasn't something you could see on paper. It was festering inside the command tent.
I mean, listen to this. He is a regimental officer with no idea beyond it. That's not just a professional critique. That's pure contempt. And you know who wrote this? Lord Chelmsford's top aide, in a secret letter about Colonel Glyn, the very man who was supposed to be in command of this column. The invasion had barely even started, and the leadership was already, you could say, rotten to the core.
And this dysfunction, it started right at the very top. The two most senior officers weren't working together. No, they were rivals, and they created this toxic atmosphere that was about to poison the entire campaign. It was a classic clash of egos. You had Lord Chelmsford, the big-picture commander, who was a total micromanager. He'd hold these closed-door meetings with his own inner circle, effectively taking direct control. And that left Colonel Glyn, a seasoned veteran who'd led these exact men for years, feeling completely sidelined, like an inflated sergeant major, as he put it, just stuck supervising camp chores. Their staffs were just as bad, trading insults and gossip, while both Chelmsford and Glyn were busy writing secret letters back home, each trying to tear the other down. Look, petty rivalries among officers are one thing, but Chelmsford's really poor judgment was about to cause a much, much bigger problem. One that threatened to shatter his army before they'd even fought a single battle. He was about to stumble right into a mutiny. Okay, so here's how it went down. The colonial volunteers, these are crucial mounted troops, had agreed to fight on one condition. They'd only be led by their own guy, Colonel Dartnell. But Chelmsford just ignores this and appoints his own friend instead. So when the order is read out, the volunteers just start shouting no. I mean, that's open mutiny, right on the eve of an invasion. Chelmsford is completely stuck. He can't back down without looking weak, but he absolutely cannot lose his cavalry. So what's the solution? They cook up this face-saving compromise where Dartnell gets a promotion to Chelmsford's staff and then has to personally ask his men to accept the new guy. The crisis was dodged, but those cracks in command were now wide open for everyone to see. So, with that internal drama barely papered over, the column finally lurches towards its first real objective, the stronghold of a Zulu inkosi, or chief, named Sihayo. And this place was a natural fortress, a massive flat-topped mountain shooting 1,000 feet out of the valley floor. It looked completely impregnable. But here's the thing. The numbers, they were just staggering. The British threw more than 2,000 soldiers at this attack, and defending the fortress? Fewer than 100 Zulu warriors. You see, Chief Sihayo and his main fighting force had already left to join the main Zulu army. The British, though, they had absolutely no idea they were about to attack a skeleton crew. As the British and their allies got closer, a voice called out from the rocks asking who sent them, and an interpreter yells back this incredibly grand statement, "By orders of the Great White Queen," which was, a complete lie. Queen Victoria hadn't ordered anything. The British government back in London didn't even know a war had started. It was pure bluff. And the Zulus answered it with a volley of gunfire. And just like that, the battle was on. A company of the Natal native contingent charged headfirst into this narrow, V-shaped ravine. And what happened next was just brutal, hand-to-hand combat. We're talking shields, spears, everything up close in this jumble of rocks. The Zulu defenders fought like lions, but they were trapped. There was just nowhere for them to go, with sheer cliffs at their back. But, in the middle of all this brutal, chaotic fighting, some truly bizarre things started to happen. And these little moments, they tell you everything you need to know about the mindset of the Victorian officer at war. Just try to imagine it. You're in your very first battle. Bullets are zinging past your head, smacking off the rocks all around you. It's chaos. Men are yelling. The noise is just deafening. And then, out of the corner of your eye, you see him. An officer, Lieutenant Harford. He just drops. His fellow officers see it too. They rush over, shouting, "Are you hit?" They're all thinking the worst. And Harford looks up and says, "Not hit, but I have caught such a beauty." I'm not kidding. Harford was a passionate entomologist, a bug collector, and in the middle of a deadly firefight, he had spotted a rare beetle, stopped everything to catch it, and was now rattling off its Latin name, completely lost in his own world. And the battle was just full of these surreal moments. At one point, an officer is waving his hat and sword around to rally his men, and a Zulu sniper up on the cliffs takes aim and shoots the hat right out of his hand. And the officer? He doesn't even flinch, just calmly bends down, picks up his ruined hat, and keeps on shouting orders. Oh, and Lieutenant Harford, our beetle catcher? His day wasn't over. A bit later, he charges a cave full of snipers all by himself, empties his revolver into the darkness, and then, while trying to reload, he fumbles and drops his gun and all his ammunition right off a cliff. And he still managed to get 4 warriors to surrender, armed with nothing but sheer, incredible audacity. So, when all the fighting finally stopped, the British had clearly won their first battle. But in winning, they managed to learn all the wrong lessons. They totally misread the situation. The numbers really tell the tale here. 2 dead on the British and Allied side compared to around 30 Zulus. Now, to the British commanders, this lopsided victory wasn't a fluke. To them, this was proof of their absolute, overwhelming superiority. And this right here, this is the critical mistake. The local colonial troops, the guys who actually understood the Zulus, they tried to warn the command staff. They said, listen, this was just a tiny garrison. This wasn't the real army. But Lord Chelmsford, high on this easy win, he just blew them off. He saw exactly what he wanted to see, confirmation that the Zulus were no match for him. And there's a word for that. It's hubris. It's that fatal, excessive pride, that dangerous overconfidence that makes you feel invincible. And this little victory just gave the British a massive, fatal dose of it. And that overconfidence, that hubris, was about to lead Lord Chelmsford to make a series of absolutely catastrophic decisions. Decisions that set the stage for one of the worst disasters in the entire history of the British military. I mean, you just have to listen to the words Chelmsford himself wrote in a letter that night. He said he was in great hopes that the Zulus would bring down a large force to attack them. He genuinely believed this one little skirmish might cause a revolution in Zululand. He was convinced the war was basically over. He had no idea what was coming. You see, Chelmsford didn't just underestimate his enemy. He had contempt for them. He saw their fierce defense not as bravery, but as weakness. It was a terrible, tragic, and utterly fatal miscalculation. Because as Lord Chelmsford sat in his tent, writing those self-congratulatory letters, tens of thousands of Zulu warriors were on the move. An entire army, ritually prepared for war, marching under a single command. And they were heading in just one direction, straight for him,